Hello, welcome. In this video, I'll introduce the Bent-O-Rama. My name is Paul Kemple. I was initiated in Delaware Alpha. I now live in California, and I'm a member of the Greater San Diego Alumni Chapter. What is the Bent-O-Rama? Well, it's a website that locates bent monuments. It's publicly available, and anyone can use it. It shows the location of physical bents on a map. For collegiate chapters without physical bents and alumni chapters, it provides virtual bents so that they can be represented on the map. It also supports chapters with multiple physical bents and former Sigma Tau chapters with pyramid monuments. It can display images and information provided by the chapters about their chapter and bents. In this video, I'll talk about how you can access the Bent-O-Rama website, the map page and the pins that are used to represent bents, how you find bents on the map, how you can view bent and chapter information, how you can register your device, which is entirely optional, and if you register, how you can enter and view bent visits. I'll finish by talking about a couple of resources that will help you to use the site. How do you access the site? That's easy. Just go to bents.tbp.org. Feel free to do that now and follow along as I describe the features of this site. When you open the site, it displays a map with markers or pins for all the collegiate chapters. We don't show pins for alumni chapters, inactive chapters, or Sigma Tau pyramids by default, but you can enable those from the menu, like this. I'll select alumni chapters. The map is based on Google Maps, so you can zoom and pan it the same way you would on the Google Maps website. You can use the plus and minus buttons in the lower right-hand corner, or you can double-click on any open area of the map. To get back to the original view, click the All link at the top of the map. You'll notice that where the pins are crowded closely together, they are replaced by a colored circle with a number. We call these circles clusters. The number indicates the number of pins inside the cluster. As you zoom in, clusters will automatically open as the pins become less crowded. As you zoom out, the pins will collapse back into clusters. You can also click on a cluster to zoom to the region of its pins, like this. You can disable clustering if you want from the menu. And you can re-enable it the same way. The icon for each pin indicates the type and status of the corresponding bent. The legend in the lower left of the map shows the various icons and their meanings. The legend can be closed from the menu like this, and then reopened the same way. Pins marked as visited have a different highlight color. They indicate locations for which you have posted visits. In order to post visits, you have to register on the site first. I'll talk more about visits and registration later in the video. You'll notice that many of the pins have a red question mark. Those represent chapters for which we do not have any information yet on whether the chapter has a physical bent monument or not, let alone where it might be located. When we originally set up the Bent-O-Rama, we only had a list of chapters with their schools and cities, along with very approximate coordinates for each campus. If we were going to show the locations of bents on a map so that people can find them when they visit campus, then we need to know those locations with a fair degree of accuracy. We decided that the individual chapters are in the best position to provide this information. Therefore, there's a separate part of the website that allows chapters to specify the location of their bent, or of some meaningful other location if they do not have a physical bent. As we will see, chapters can also post pictures of their chapter and bent on the site and provide information that describes their chapter and bent. Once a chapter provides their information to the site, their question mark icon will change to a bent icon. For examples of chapters that are already set up, look in District 16, which is Southern California. Special authorization is required to access the part of the site that allows chapters to provide their information. That process is usually of concern only to chapter officers and is the subject of a separate video. Thus far, we have been talking about zooming and panning the map to see its pins. You can use that approach to locate a bent for a specific chapter, but there are other ways that are more efficient. Just above the map are controls that zoom to specific regions on the map. As I mentioned earlier, clicking the All link zooms the map back to its original view, like this. Selecting an entry from the state list will zoom the map to show all the pins for chapters in that state. I'll select California. Selecting an entry from the district list will zoom the map to show all the pins for chapters in that district. I'll select District 15, which is Northern California and Nevada. If you don't know the Tau Beta Pi districts, you can select the Pick from Map entry, which will display a map of districts, like this. Just click within the borders of a district to zoom to its pins. Notice that most of the pins in this case are in California, but there is also one for Nevada Beta in Las Vegas. Selecting a district and a state in that order will zoom the map to show all the pins for chapters in that district and state. So in addition to selecting District 16, I'll now also select California. Note that the pin for Las Vegas no longer shows. Whenever you select from the district or state lists, the third list to their right will become enabled and will show the bents associated with all the selected pins. Selecting an entry from this third list will zoom the map to the region in the vicinity of that pin. We call this the campus view. I'll select San Diego State. The red circle indicates the location chosen. You can zoom in as far as Google Maps will go to see more detail. You can also switch to satellite view, which can be useful to see what surrounds the bent location. Finally, after zooming or panning the map, you can click the recycle icon to the right of the location list to return to the map view originally specified by the selections in the three lists, like this. Once you have located a bent, you can click or tap its pin to see more detailed information, like this. The panel will slide up from the right side of the browser window. The panel's initial appearance is termed the chapter view. Click the arrow tab on the panel's upper left side to collapse it again, like this. This will keep the panel open, but temporarily uncover the portion of the map underneath it. Click the tab again to re-expand it, like this. Click the X in the upper right corner to close the panel completely, like this. And now reopen the panel. The chapter view has 5 sections. Most of these will not display if the chapter has not provided information for them. At the top is the chapter name, district number, and city-state. This information is always present. If the chapter has provided a chapter image, it will display next. Click the image to zoom it, click it again to collapse. The third section lists the bents for the chapter and their location. If there are multiple bents, the line in boldface indicates the pin that was clicked. Each bent has a name assigned by the chapter. The name is a link. Clicking it will switch the panel to the bent view, which I'll discuss shortly. The location shows the geographic coordinates of the bent. This is also a link. Clicking it will collapse the panel and zoom to that bent's campus view. And now we expand. The third item in the list indicates how many times you have posted a visit for this bent. If you haven't registered, no number will show here as posting visits requires registering. This browser is not registered, so nothing shows there right now. If the chapter has a public calendar and has linked the Bent-O-Rama to it, the fourth section shows a list of the chapter's upcoming events. If the chapter has provided a description, that will be shown at the bottom of the panel. As I just mentioned, clicking a name in the list of bents switches the panel to the bent view for that bent, so I'll select Main Bent. If the chapter has provided an image of the bent, that will be shown at the top. Click the image to zoom it, the same way as for a chapter image, and click again to restore. Below the bent is an optional description of the bent provided by the chapter. If you have registered your device, the bottom section of the panel will show a list of your visits to that bent, if any. We'll discuss visits in more detail shortly. Finally, at the top of the bent is a button that will return you to the chapter view. The next topic to discuss is registering your device. Because registration involves multiple steps and switching between applications, I'm going to demonstrate it with a series of screenshots rather than live in the browser. First, registration is completely optional. Registration is only required to post and view bent visits. All other features of the site can be used without registering. So if you're not interested in posting visits, you need not bother to register. You must register your devices individually. Those can be a PC, a laptop, or a mobile device like a phone or tablet. You can register as many devices as you wish. What you actually register, though, is the combination of a device and a web browser. So if you use multiple browsers on the same device, each browser will have a separate registration. A registration expires 2 years after the last time that you used it. If it expires, just re-register. None of your visits or images will be lost. You register your device with your email address. The site considers all devices registered with the same email address to be for the same user. And all devices registered with the same email address will share the same visit data. Thus, you can enter and view visits from any of your registered devices. When you first use the Bent-O-Rama map page, there's a link in the upper right, Register Your Device. Click that link to start the registration process. A dialog will open that describes the steps that are about to occur. At the end of a successful registration, the site will store a cookie on your device. This cookie does not contain any personal data, just a random string that allows the site to recognize your device and access your personal visit data. To proceed, enter your email address in the text box on the dialog and click the OK button. The site will then acknowledge that it has received your email address and is in the process of sending you a message. You can simply click the OK button to close that dialog. You should then check your email client for a message from the Bent-O-Rama. It should arrive in a few seconds. If you don't see a message, make sure to check your spam folder. If necessary, you can simply restart the registration process from the link on the map page. Once the message arrives, open it. It will contain a link for the Bent-O-Rama site. Most email clients will allow you to simply click the link to continue the registration process. That should open the link in your default browser. If your email client doesn't support that, or if you want to register using a browser other than your default one, you will need to copy the link and manually paste it into the desired browser. That link is only good for 10 minutes after you submit your email address, so don't delay activating the link. If the link times out, just restart the registration process from the beginning and use the link from the next email message. When the link from the email message opens in your browser, it will display a form for information the site needs to register you. The only items that are required are your first and last names. The other items are optional. If you have registered previously, the form will be pre-filled with your existing data. You can change any of the fields on the form except your email address. The device name will be unique to the registration for this specific device and browser combination. The site will pre-fill this field with a random name, but I recommend that you change this to something meaningful, especially if you will be registering multiple devices and/or browsers. When you have finished entering your data, click the Submit button. The data that you submit on this form can be changed anytime later, as we will see shortly. Once the site has validated and created the new registration, a dialog will open over the form indicating success. You can then click the link on this dialog to switch to the map page. When the map page reloads, you will see that the register link has been replaced by a green box showing your first name. This indicates that your device and browser is registered and has been validated by the site. This completes the registration process for a device. You will notice that there are now a couple of additional items at the bottom of the menu. Manage your devices and list your visits. These will open utility pages in a separate window or tab, which I'll discuss next. The Manage Your Devices page shows your device registration in two parts. At the top of the page is your personal data that is common to all registrations. You can change any of these fields except your email address, and then click the Update Data button to save your changes. Below that is a list of all the registrations the site currently has on file for you. The ID column shows an internal identifier used by the site. The status column shows the status of the registration, which is usually active or expired. The row for the device displaying this page is highlighted in green and shows the status of this device, which implies that it's active. The remaining columns show the dates that the registration was created, last updated, last used, and when it will expire. The checkboxes along the left margin of the table can be used to select registrations for deletion. You might want to do that if you no longer have the device or if its registration has expired and you do not wish to re-register it. Simply tick the boxes for the registrations you want to delete, then click the Delete Registrations button. This sample page shows a lot more registrations than most people are likely to have, but it illustrates the usefulness of assigning meaningful device names. Default names, like the one in the third row, are pretty meaningless if you have multiple devices. The List Your Visits page summarizes the chapters for which you have posted visits on the site. By default, it shows the number of visits and date of most recent visit for each chapter. If you tick the Show Per Bent box, the page will summarize the number of visits for each bent. This can be useful if the chapter has multiple bents. I'll talk about visits next. The Bent-O-Rama allows you to maintain a journal of visits to bent locations. You can specify the date of the visit and enter a brief note about it. You can also post your own image of the bent, although you can have only one image per bent, not one per visit. Your visits and images are associated with your email address. They are private to you. No one else can see your data, and you can't see theirs. Visit information and bent images are viewed and entered on the chapter information panel. So the first step is to select a bent and click its pin on the map page. I'll choose UCSD, which is California Sci. On the chapter view of the panel, click the name of the bent you are interested in. There's only one, so I'll click it. On the bent view, any visits you have previously posted to that bent will be listed below the chapter's bent image and description. To view details of that visit, click its date, like this. That will switch the panel from the bent view to the visit view. If you have previously posted an image of the bent, it will be displayed at the top of the panel. You can click it to zoom and click it again to restore, just like with the other images. You can add an image or replace an existing one by clicking the Upload New Image button. You will need to accept the terms for release of the image by clicking the checkbox. Then you can select a file from your local file system. I'm going to replace that image with the same thing. To proceed, click the Upload button. The page will upload the image to the server, and when it's complete, display it on the visit view. You can delete the existing image by clicking the Delete Image button. Below the image are the date and note for the selected visit. You can change these fields and click the Update button to save them. The note is optional and can be up to about 4,000 characters in length. You can also delete the visit by clicking the Delete Visit button. If you have multiple visits, you can page through them in date order by clicking the Next Visit and Prior Visit button. To return to the list of visits, click the Bent View button at the top of the panel. To post a new visit for the bent, click the New Visit button on the bent view. There's a similar button on the visit view here. So that's about everything there is to say for bent visits. To wrap up this tutorial, the Bent-O-Rama site has two resources you may find useful. The first is a help page, which you can access by clicking the blue question mark icon at the top of the map page. Here. This opens as a panel on top of the map page. The page describes all the features of the Bent-O-Rama site, including a few advanced ones that are not covered in this video. You can also open the help page in a new window or tab of your browser by clicking the link at the top of that panel, here. To close the panel, click the X in the upper right-hand corner. The second resource is an email address where you can report any questions or problems with the site you may have. You can click the Contact Support link at the top of the help page, or you can select the Contact Support item from the menu. Both of these methods will open your email client to compose a message to the support address. This concludes the tutorial for the Bent-O-Rama site. We hope you enjoy the site, will find it useful, and will post visits to it when you have occasion to visit Tau Beta Pi chapter campuses. If you have any questions or problems, please submit an email to the support address. If you are a chapter officer and want to set up your chapter on the site, please see our tutorial, Put Your Chapter on the Map, or contact us at the support address. Thank you.